Blessed to be with you as always. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, one city declares a state of emergency over the illegals. That's right. Just like President Trump said, he's going to send the illegals to sanctuary cities. However, one city has already declared an emergency. I don't know if the Democrats will recognize that. In addition to that, a couple of big stories going on locally. The faculty at the College of Western Idaho, which is a shocker for me, has given a vote of no confidence to President Gladden. I love President Gladden. I think he's done a great job. We'll be at CWI coming up for Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future. Seems rather odd to me, but we'll talk about that. The city of Boise looking at mass transit, of course, when they, in addition to building a stadium and a new library and spending your money and everything else. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's go live to London and talk to Simon Owen, Fox News Radio, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio, with the latest concerning the eventual rebuilding of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Simon, good morning.
Morning, Kevin. Yes, actually speaking to you from Paris this morning, just on the opposite side of the Seine River to the Notre Dame, and we're still seeing quite a lot of activity actually on the outside of this building. Occasionally a firefighter will pop up on top of one of the bell towers, or we even just saw them spraying a bit of water on what is left, the very little that is left of the roof of the cathedral. So we don't know if they've maybe found some embers or something like that. The sun is certainly shining quite hard here today, but a lot of activity going on at the cathedral. The fire brigade won't tell us what they're doing, but we think it's a process of continuing to assess just how stable the remaining stone structure here is, because while the roof is clearly gone, the spire is clearly gone, you know, when you look at it, the primary stone structure was saved by firefighters, and it is undeniably still standing, but that doesn't mean it's safe, and so we think that they are continuing to assess the state of what is left of the Notre Dame.
Simon, obviously the world is watching the mood on the ground there in Paris.
Well, I mean, as I say, I'm on the opposite side of the river, and here and on other sidewalks and roads and pathways, and the cathedral itself sits on an island, a small island in the middle of the river, so there are plenty of vantage points. And all day yesterday, and on Monday night when the fire was raging, but particularly yesterday once it was out, and then again today, people have been stopping by here in their thousands to take a look for themselves, to have a look with their own eyes at the destruction. And a lot of people, you know, some of them stop and take photos, but a lot of people, they just stand here very quietly and pensively and gaze out on the destruction that has been ravaged on this very iconic and very important to the French population building. You know, it stood here, it's 855 years old. It has stood over Paris, loomed over Paris for century after century. And I spoke to one woman who said that, you know, yeah, she'd been watching it on TV as the fire raged. She'd seen lots of pictures of it, but she felt she had to see it with her own eyes because it seemed so unreal, seeing this national treasure going up in smoke. And you hear a mix of things from people. One man was saying that because the cathedral is still there, because it didn't all collapse, that is an encouragement. He said, yesterday people were crying, but today all the French people are happier. But for others, I think it's hard to get past the unique aspects of this church that have undeniably been lost. And one woman said, I thought it would always be there. I thought we were heirs to it, and it would be there before we were born and would be there after we die. It's a link between the past and now, and to see it on fire was really shocking and sad.
Simon Owen joining us from Paris. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Simon with Fox News Radio. Simon, we take a look at just the overwhelming amount of money that has been vowed and pledged to rebuild the cathedral, but there are a lot of items and, of course, artwork and stained glass windows that can never be replaced.
Yes, and if they are, they will be different. And, you know, maybe in a 900-year history and lifetime, you do see things change over time. I think the sadness, perhaps, is that, you know, this cathedral has survived 2 world wars. It was damaged during the French Revolution, but it survived that as well. France has got a tumultuous history, and this thing has stood for, 8 centuries or so. And after all that tumult and drama over the years, it sounds like, at the moment the prosecutors believe this was an accident, a fairly potentially simple accident that has wreaked such incredible damage. But yeah, I mean, there are silver linings, not least the fact that no one died in this. It's easy to forget with all the talk of artifacts and just the knowledge that everyone got out safely. That's no small feat, given that 30,000 people visit every day, and there was a massive firefighting operation to try and get this ravaging blaze out of control, and yet no one lost their lives.
Simon, finally, people are hailing the work of the volunteers, the fire brigade, priests, lay people that went in, risked their lives to save many crucial relics of Christendom.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the problem is when you've got a building that is this big, and Notre Dame is a huge, hulking structure, and it's ancient, and so its roof will have been probably riddled with narrow passageways and trapdoors and who knows what else, which makes it incredibly difficult if you're trying to track the source of a fire. And at the same time, it is cavernous and has these incredibly high ceilings, and so it's uniquely difficult, this kind of building, I think, for firefighters, and a particularly horrendous job to try and tackle a blaze like this. And that's partly perhaps why the flames spread so quickly and a fire like this can cause such devastation. But one thing you can do is plan for evacuating artifacts and holy items, objects that were inside. And there was a human chain that was formed, and that was something that enabled a lot of things to be carried away. They've been taken to the Louvre Gallery for safekeeping, where they do know how to look after old things there. And yes, it seems that we don't quite have a tally of what precisely was lost. They've undeniably lost some things in this, and the roof and the spire are unique and that sort of thing. But a lot of the other objects, they managed to get them out. They've got what many people believe is the crown of thorns that Jesus Christ wore on the cross, and they believe that is in the church, and that was evacuated safely along with a number of other items.
A very significant Holy Week in Paris, Simon.
Yeah, yes, we're now at its most famous cathedral now. I mean, amazing timing that right at the start of this particularly busy week in the church, up goes Notre Dame in flames.
Simon, thank you. You have a great day, sir. There we have it, our friend Simon Owen. And, we really appreciate our friends at Fox News. Here we have a live report in the Treasure Valley. We go to Paris, right outside Notre Dame, as Simon calls it, and we bring that to you. And it's not us. It's, again, the resources that we have here and talking to a live person about a story. Sure do appreciate it, and that's the blessing of having the big Fox here on KIDO Talk Radio, Idaho's first radio station.
We are looking at the possibility, strongly looking at, to be honest with you. California, the governor wants to have a lot of people coming in, refugees coming in, a lot of sanctuary cities, so we'll give them to the sanctuary cities maybe to take care of if that's the way they want it, because we can only hold them under the current law for 20 days.
Right. We'll have an update on that, but this is just a clip that I can't get enough of.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally. We'll bring.
Hold on. When have you ever heard anybody elected to Congress, elected to any public office, speak so bluntly as President Trump has done? And we still haven't given up. And I need to get working on this. We need to get working on this. Bringing President Trump here to Idaho. But God bless him. I could listen to a loop of this over and over and over again.
Them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it. I'm not even going to apologize for it. I mean, this is what it comes down to. 2020. You have this running America.
It's just another notion that is unworthy of the presidency of the United States and disrespectful of the challenges that we face as a country, as a people, to address who we are, a nation of immigrants.
Sure. Or this.
That was brought up at a staff level, and it was determined. We're looking to see if there are options that make it possible.
Man, I love Sarah Sanders. Or our favorite president.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally.
I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally. He's right.
Bring them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it.
Take care of itself. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, the Attorney General changes the policy concerning alleged asylum seekers. First, your phone calls. On the right side with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, Notre Dame, meaning Our Lady, the Masons built it to honor Mary Magdalene. That's what Our Lady means. And I believe that the fire was set on purpose. We have had a slew of fires here in Utah in our church buildings, and they were all started in the attics. So do I think it's a coincidence? You know, something's going on here. And so, yes, I do believe it was started on purpose. I don't know about your other listeners, but that's my belief in it.
Well, have you had visions? We know you've written your book about your visions, or is this just speculation, Liberty Linda?
It's just speculation. I haven't had a vision about it.
Okay, just checking.
But I have great knowledge. I don't believe that, you know, it's wonderful that they want to rebuild it, of course, because it touched all of our hearts. You know, it's part of all of us. Every brick, I believe, put in place was religiously put in place. We don't have the knowledge of the Freemasons, the knowledge that they had in those days. And it's different than the way we build buildings. And so while, yes, I'm looking forward to having it rebuilt, but I don't think it will still have the same meaning, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
If you can understand what I'm saying. So anyway, it hurt all of our hearts when we saw that happen. But let's keep our eyes open and check these other fires that are going on, like the ones we've had here in Utah in our church buildings. We just had a church building burnt down. And
now, do they know if that was arson?
Yes, I believe it was. I think that the results came out that it was arson. Yes, I believe that was the proof of the one building here. Well, and I don't know about the others, but I believe that Notre Dame the fire was set on purpose. Now, that's just my personal belief.
Who do you think did it?
Well, perhaps someone that would be against the religion or something, against the Knights Templar. I don't know. That was what I believe. And the Knights Templar had great knowledge that I don't believe all of it has been handed down. And while we rebuild it, it will never be the same. You know, I think in our hearts as well, it had that certain meaning to us whenever we look at it. But anyway, so that's my opinion on that. And, you know, we're all hurting in our hearts in regard to it. And now we've got this other thing going on with the Mueller report. And I personally think it was a lot to do about nothing. You know, I think Putin and our president got along, and I'm very happy that they got along, but both of them are for their own countries. I don't think there's collusion whatsoever between the two of them at all. I'm happy that they got along when our president was over there. I think that's a positive for our country. So that's the way I look at that.
All right. All right, Liberty Linda, thank you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Have a great day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, buddy. How you doing?
Living the dream and still employed. And you?
Hey, we're living the dream and still retired. Liberty Linda is a great contributor, but I need to sort of correct something. First of all, the Notre Dame Cathedral is not named for Mary Magdalene. It's named for Blessed Mary Ever Virgin, the Mother of God. They're two very different people. And just an opinion of mine is that when they're done with the Notre Dame Cathedral, it's going to be better than ever. Think of a building this old and how many areas where it doesn't come up to code. It can't. It's too old. They can't fix it all. Now they got a chance to take it from the ground up and have plumbing, electrical, gas, all safety codes in place, and maybe just a little more joie de vivre, a little more flair. Because after all, the cathedral has changed a lot over time. This is just another time and another change. So look at the bright side. The burning of the cathedral, as terrible as it was, will lead to a more glorious and grand spectacle of the Cathedral of Notre Dame.
God bless you, Max. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, not only do we have the Ontario Hemp Fest, but the Boise Hemp Fest is here. And God bless the folks that are promoting hemp and legalizing marijuana. They have once again included me on their email distribution list. We'll talk a little bit about that. Heated show yesterday, if you caught a little of it, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I had many of you coming up to me and saying, Kevin Miller, what's the deal with that? Usually you're talking politics. No, we talk about the issues that matter to you, and none bigger than, well, actually two of them. I had a lawmaker yesterday come up to me and say, hey, Kevin Miller, how about that? We forgot one thing. I go, yeah, it was a big thing you forgot, repealing the grocery tax. And we will continue to do that until the grocery tax is repealed. We will continue to fight against the legalization of marijuana until that stops, until we stop them at the gate. And coming up next, we'll have an update on that. Kevin Miller, we're just waking up. Why don't you join us? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Somebody very much enjoying the first year of married life, I would say freedom is what's at stake in the idea of whether a county clerk gets to tell you who you ought to marry. Speaking of things, hello again. Speaking of things that are at stake that do not belong to a single political party. You know, the good news is the condition of my soul is in the hands of God, but the Iowa caucuses are up to you. Our marriage exists by the grace of a single vote on the U.S. Supreme Court. And on this 10th anniversary of Iowa breaking some ground in that regard, I would like to say thank you. Yeah, we got it. Promise you, we got it. Remember the beauty of our democracy. Everyone here gets the exact same voice and vote.
There we have it. Mayor Pete on the campaign trail. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We'll get your comments about Mayor Pete in a minute. First, let's get you to work safely and on time. Traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller. So Mayor Pete talking about gay marriage and talking about being a newlywed and everything else, brilliantly putting himself into that warm, fuzzy, non-traditional family. We'll see how that plays out in conservative Iowa, which does have some progressive tendencies. For years, they had a senator, one of the most liberal. His name was Tom Harkin. But for social conservatives in mainstream America, are they really ready for a 35-year-old Harvard graduate, Rhodes Scholar, Afghani war veteran who's married to a man? How far has the country gone? That's number one. And a guy that doesn't shy away from religion. Now, again, you go to most major religions in this country, they don't recognize same-sex marriage. But Mayor Pete makes it seem like it should. And then you've got Mike Pence in there. The crazy thing about Mayor Pete and why he's important is he's different. I mean, Kamala Harris, Kristen Gillibrand, all these want to have that Mayor Pete moment. But mark my words, someone will be the hatchet man on Mayor Pete. Personally, the guy's intelligent. You listen to him and go, gosh, I disagree with him, but he's got a lot going on. But professionally, being the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, does not qualify you to be the president of the United States. It's just too big of a leap. You're going to have people piling on Buttigieg or Buttigieg, and that's going to be the end of him. Mark my words on that. Coming up, a western city declares a state of emergency. Why? Because the illegals are overrunning it. No, truly, they are. Also, a tragedy was averted in Colorado, in Columbine. We'll talk about it next. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Doug. And here we are, living in the great state of Idaho, surrounded by people that want to bend our will, surrounded by people that, quite frankly, want to change our laws, our great way of life. We see that now with the traffic congestion. We see that now with so many homes coming in. We see that now with people trying to legalize marijuana and hemp. If you don't know, the truck driver who was arrested, stuffed, and cuffed, well, we say that for entertainment purposes only, has pled not guilty in transporting the hemp across Idaho state lines. He said he had some type of papers. They said, let me see your papers, and they weren't good enough for the people here in Idaho. He says he's not guilty. The Portland truck driver will face the prospect of trafficking over 6,700 pounds of marijuana into Idaho, pleading not guilty. Dennis Palamarchuk has maintained he was driving a legal load of hemp when the state patrol pulled him over on 84 east of Boise. And remember, hemp was not legalized thanks to the work of law enforcement, thanks to the work of you, and we'll say this program as well. Parpachuk produced cargo documentation that described the shipment as hemp plants. The troopers, God bless them, arrested Parpachuk and seized the cargo, heralding it as the largest pot bust in the agency's history. You know, of course, if these folks are caught, and remember, people are innocent till proven guilty, well, they're not going to say, yeah, you got me, I'm hauling marijuana. Of course, if I'm a criminal or if I'm accused, I'm going to say, no, it's hemp. And count on the fact that the state of Idaho does not have ways of figuring out the difference between hemp and marijuana. And by the way, hemp is still illegal, but he's going to plead not guilty. He's going to go to trial. Good for him. And we'll see how that plays out. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Also, a scary situation that happened in Colorado. When we're looking at a woman believed to be armed and dangerous, she was fixated with the Columbine shootings. Yes, Columbine shootings, when we're taking a look at this. And apparently, days before the 20th anniversary of the Columbine shootings, she's suspected of making threats against the same Colorado high school. Now, why in the world would somebody do this? Now, people are going to say, we need to stop this sort of thing. I don't know. Most schools in Denver are closed because of this concern. But here we have someone who is not of sound right in mind.
She has had an infatuation with Columbine and the perpetrators of Columbine. She's made comments to that effect, but she hasn't identified a specific threat to a specific school.
Our agency was notified of a FBI investigation that was going on. There were threats made toward the school system in Jefferson County, and at about 12:15, about 24 schools were placed on lockout.
You've seen the pictures, you've seen the descriptions. We're asking for the public's help in identifying and notifying us of her potential whereabouts.
I know that this opens a wound, especially on an anniversary week, for those families who were most deeply impacted by this.
Sol Pius traveled here to Colorado, and she made threats to commit an act of violence in this area. She is armed and considered to be extremely dangerous. She's a white female, 18 years old. She's 5'5" and has brown hair. She was last seen wearing a black t-shirt and camouflage pants and black boots.
And as of an hour ago, the hunt is still on for her. We'll keep you updated on that. Yuma, Arizona. on your way to Tacoma. Yuma, Arizona cannot take care of all the illegals coming in. Mayor Douglas Nichols is declaring a state of emergency and asking for federal help. He says, where's FEMA when I need them the most?
Their resources could come in and take care of the situation and would effectively handle that, and that would be a federally occupied, federally funded, federally ran operation, and that would be the best solution.
Well, there is no solution, according to the libs, because they believe that there is no emergency at all. The mayor disagrees.
When we reach above capacity and people are no longer able to stay at the shelter, that means they're likely to be on the street, and there will be a whole cascading effect of people walking around the city.
Walking around the city, committing crimes, looking for food, trying to basically survive.
There is an imminent threat on having too many migrant releases into our community.
And yet we have the Democrats not doing anything at all. So now we have cities along the border declaring emergencies. Well, thankfully, the Attorney General, William Barr, has come up with this. Rachel Sutherland tells us here on KIDO Talk Radio, this could be the solution. However, the liberal progressive judges seek to cancel this as they've done anything. That, you know, sooner or later, you have to sit back and say to yourselves, guys, for the greater good, we've got to stop this, or it's going to be the end of us.
Asylum seekers who cross in remote locations, bypassing official points of entry, would be held until their cases are heard by an immigration judge, according to a new Justice Department policy announced by Attorney General William Barr. The policy does not apply to families and children, as they cannot be legally detained beyond 20 days. Immigrant rights groups say Barr's ruling could set a precedent that will allow the government to deny bond to a broader group of migrants. The policy will take effect in 90 days to give the Homeland Security Department time to expand detention capacity. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
If they would only listen to the President of the United States, and if they would only listen to you at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it really comes down to this. It really comes down to enforcing the laws, and if you're not going to enforce the laws, then instead of flooding Yuma, Arizona, and Boise, Idaho, and Mountain Home, and all the other places, just send them to where they're welcome.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally. We'll bring them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it.
There we have it. The President of the United States saying, look, let's just send the illegals to these sanctuary cities. This is a true emergency. This is a true emergency that is impacting all of us, correct? And yet, where are the congressional Democrats? Where, you've got Representative Omar going after the President of the United States. You've got Alexandria Cortez going after the New York Post. So those are some topics. Now, I know I've been jumping around here, but this is something that I think is really important. And everything that we do is really important. However, I'm going to refocus here before we go to the Sean Hannity moment. Idaho's, and if you caught yesterday's Miller Minute, you know what I'm talking about. It's that time of year again. You know the time of year where you're getting ready to go to college. Maybe you're in college, you're getting ready to, graduate. Maybe you're completing your first, second year, and you're wondering how you're going to pay for college. And instead of worrying about how to take care of its customers, its students, as we've talked about before, like Netflix, you have Idaho's major state universities looking to raise tuition. By the way, College of Western Idaho, how many years have they kept their tuition the same? And by the way, they still don't, CWI doesn't have Dr. Custer, former president of Boise State, still collecting a retainer for being a consultant, I guess, but that's their choice. So here we go, and we'll start off with a statement and perhaps a question at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We hear so much about college and how wonderful it is and education being the great liberator, and I truly believe that. But I think today, I'm amazed by people that get educated by watching YouTube videos. I wish I had the tenacity and the attention span to actually learn from the YouTube videos. People are educating themselves. The old idea of on-the-job training, work experience on how people are educated, right? I mean, do you really need to spend $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 to go to a state university? Yeah, it's great to be an alumnus for the football team, which is an arm of the marketing department of the university. But really, are you getting your value? So here we have it, breaking it down. Idaho's public universities have decided they're going to raise tuition again. Going to the State Board of Education today, and they're asking students to pay more money. Now, this student loan debt has been a problem for many, many years. And I can remember as a young, aspiring student trying to figure out how many more shifts I could work at the mall, scrubbing floors and cleaning toilets so I could pay for my university fees because, you have to go to college. I don't use my degree. I marvel at people that are self-made. I don't use it. I use it to say I did all this. You know, to me, in a way, it's marketing. Now, if you're an engineer, your computer science program, yeah. But for most of us, well, let's take a look. I guess my point is the return on investment when we're talking about higher education. Idaho State University, they've got the largest increase request at 6.1%. That's right. In undergraduate tuition and fees. 6.1%. Boy, if you could get a return on your investment at 6.1%, that'd be pretty good, right? You also have Boise State University, 4.9%. 4.9% graduate and tuition fees. Non-resident tuition fees would increase 5.2%. The University of Idaho, go Vandals, 5.6%. Graduate costs would increase 5.6%. Non-residents would jump to 9.1%. Now, one thing that I don't understand, by the way, Lewis Clark, 5.5% increase. Can anybody justify to me what improvements have been made at these colleges to justify raising the money? Look, if you're a faculty member, if you're tenured, good for you. You've got a great retirement. You've got a great system. You have a great sabbatical. You have life is good. Very different from the rest of us. Very different from all of us worried about keeping our jobs, wondering about pensions, wondering about paying for retirement, wondering about paying for medical bills. Are we going to attribute the rise in tuition to faculty costs? How about this? Did you go into faculty costs to make money or to educate kids? Because that's what we hear from teachers, right? As opposed to professors. Number one. Number two, I would love the State Board of Education to put it back to these universities, politely saying, can you please justify the increases? Well, we've got a new building. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. Really? Are you telling me that this is for books? No, in college, you have to buy your books. You know that. And when we're talking about student loan debt, recently I've been involved in a secret project, and it's another secret project. My backup career in photography and digital stuff, and much to Mrs. Miller's chagrin, I haven't followed up on that. But my new secret project, which I can't reveal to you, involves being around a lot of young people. And I see their hope, their promise, their initiative. These are people that are working extra jobs to better themselves. They're not feeling entitled. They want to earn it. They want to live the American dream. And I look at some of these kids, and these are the same generation that are saddled with this student loan debt. And it's not just millennials, post-millennials, Gen Xers, but you have baby boomers that are close to paying off their mortgage, but still have to work because of student loan debt. So let me sound like a liberal socialist for entertainment purposes only. And can somebody tell me if it's worth a 5.6% increase to go to the University of Idaho, 4.9% tuition increase to go to Boise State, or Idaho State at 6.1, Lewis and Clark at 5.5? What's the return on investment? Really? I mean, is it worth that much? Now, the president, he can tell you about the illegals.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really, you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals.
I just can't help it. Anyway, at 580-5436, you've got young kids, you've got grandkids. we're taught you got to go to college, you got to go do this. At what cost? Burdening them for the rest of their lives with a debt they most likely will never pay off? Or does that teach them responsibility? 580-5436, 580-KIDO, a 6.1% increase. They better be building some pretty darn new fancy buildings at ISU to justify that, right? You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Sean Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And rolling on the right side, coming up, we're surrounded by, pro-pot folks, and vaping could get the boot in one Treasure Valley city. First, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up next, Fox News. Stay tuned, stay informed. Good morning.